We firmly believe that Black women are not only magical, but we are as invaluable and powerful as vibranium. Our podcast is dedicated to empowering Black and Brown women to embrace the transformative power of astrology and tarot. Through these intuitive arts, the Melanated Mystics will guide you to explore and connect with your deep inner magic and help you to finally release the burdens of Black Superwoman syndrome. It's time to redirect our energies inward and prioritize ourselves on this transformative journey of self-discovery. The booth is powerful. We love being in the booth. Or the booth, B-O-F.
Yes.
Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back to Melanated Mystics. Karrie and I are entertaining ourselves. And we're entertained because I think what we're about to talk about, it feels like money. It is money. Like we're basically talking about valuing ourselves or how we need to stop undervaluing our product. And what is our product? As Karrie says, it's our magic. Our magic is inherent. It is creator given. We are born with it, especially as Black and Brown women. We're so enthusiastic to talk about this for lots of different reasons. And the way I always love to, especially when she is the progenitor of the topic. Karrie, please go ahead and get us started. Like why, how did this come to mind? Why was it on your spirit, as they say down south?
It was on my spirit. This was on my spirit. I have recently been called to raise my prices for my astrological services. And I was noticing a struggle within myself, to not do it and and the hemming and the hawing and the weighing the value. And I said, let me sit back and look at this. Let me look at this for a minute, as I do. Instead of moving forward, this is the universe trying to show me something. And so I thought, I really want us to talk about how Black women undervalue our product, which is our magic, because that's what flows out in our businesses. It flows into our families, flows into our relationships. But I wanted to talk about the ways that Black women, we think we must lower our value in order to be chosen. And the reason why I'm saying it that way is that when I was struggling with, should I raise my prices? The fear that was coming up was, well, then people won't choose me. They won't choose me to be their astrologer. The first thought wasn't, my value is they're going to choose me because I'm good. They're going to choose me because, I'm valuable. It was, I won't get chosen. I won't be one of they'll go off to some YouTube or TikTok or somebody who's doing it differently, somebody who's doing something else. It won't be me. And I was more afraid of losing being chosen than I was of being valued for what I do bring. And the way this also came up was that how does this show up in my business, but also how this shows up in my relationships, especially for Black women, this need to be chosen. I've heard this many times where we're always just like, but I wanted to be chosen. What do you get when you're chosen? What do you get when someone else chooses you rather than you choosing yourself? And then also, secondly, what also comes along with this was the needing to be right instead of receiving. So how we can often talk ourselves out of getting exactly what we want because we needed to prove that we were right. Like, see, they're going to undervalue me. See, and yep, there they did it, or see, I was right about that. And that now I'm blocked off to receiving the gift, however it shows up, usually in a bigger and better way in a more compatible way than I ever imagined. So I wanted us to talk about this and how it shows up on your astrology chart and how to look at it when you're doing a tarot reading for yourself, so you can be aware of what is present at that time, undervaluing yourself. This means undervaluing is present.
Can I give an example that just came up into my mind out of nowhere? I know you know that I'm obsessed with a bit of a YouTube personality now who is making a big splash right now. And as people are taking her stuff and taking it over YouTube, she'll remain nameless right now. But there is a phenomenon called pick-meism, like the pick-me girls. You know what I'm talking, those content creators. I think that is such an interesting, I was like, oh, like that. and what do we mean by that? Like in the currency and your value. I personally feel, and I'm seeing through my clients and what I'm seeing out in the zeitgeist, we are like Black and brown women. We're like, no, we do have high standards. Like we're raising the standards. You're going to have to bring this kind of currency to the relationship. You're going to bring emotional currency. You're going to have to bring some creativity, some interest. You're going to have to bring like the ability, some ambition, or you're going to have to do all this. But the reaction to that is like, no, or you could pick me. Or you can pick me because you don't have to bring anything to the table for me. I bring everything to the table. I am the table. Like I bring everything. You don't, no. Like I'm happy to cook, clean, work. That's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be living in misery. Like no, you don't have to take me out on dates. You don't pay for anything. We can go out for coffee. All I require is that you be there and just be my king, so pick me because I don't require anything. Like pick me because I'm prepared to work for free. I'm prepared to carry the emotional, sexual, physical labor of this relationship, financial, for no cost to you.
Yes. No cost, on sale. Like, right?
Me, on sale. Pick me. Oh, God. The second you said that, I was like, oh, that's a way to look at that. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to put that in there.
Well, I think also I'm glad that you brought that up because this is the way that this shows up. Because in terms of like in astrology, I talk a lot about the masculine and the feminine energies, not in regards to gender, but in regards to they live within us, their energies, So our masculine is our Mars and our Pluto energy. Our feminine is our Venus energy. And in some ways our Neptune energy. And then and then we have our Jupiter, which is like our receiving energy, right? But it's important to realize when you are dealing with, and regardless of gender, if you are trying to get something, connect, like do that, attraction kind of thing, you have to appeal to the polarity, right? So if you're trying to attract something, that means you're enticing them to come to you. You don't just show up and bring all your stuff and just like, look what I got, like you're bartering, like that, then you're not going to align. Like there's no enticement. Why would they be attracted? There's so many other flowers, right? So understand it. The whole pick me thing is kind of ridiculous because like, you're not going to get what you want, because the whole pick me idea comes from this idea that being chosen is the prize, but nothing comes along with being chosen. By the way, being chosen could be that day. What about next week? So that's what I'm saying is like always when we're talking about attraction, appeal to the polarity, don't show up like you at the, selling your wares at the swap meet, what I'm saying? I'm from Inglewood, so we used to go to swap meets. But anyway, what I'm saying is, like at the swap meet, like, here I got, what I'm saying? And then of course, people go to the swap meet looking for a deal. So you already not going to get what you want. You're already on discount. I'm just saying. So yeah, I had to just add that. And thank you, Halicue, for adding the whole pick me.
Girl, and before we get into the actual astrology, again, like over here, if y'all see me in the background, like, there's things in the background I'm trying to do, but I'm also taking notes. Like this has been I never multitask more than when I'm recording with Karrie because even though we have already talked about everything we're going to talk about, like there's always something very specific that I'm like, oh, she didn't say that earlier. Okay. Like I gotta write this down for myself. This is very important. Thank you for letting me interject with that. And I also want to say where Halicue is coming from with y'all and how I'd like to augment and enhance this amazing topic that Karrie has brought up is I always go back to, I'll never forget this advice when it came up with a particular client early on when I first started showing up to do appearances and reading at Botanical Life in Larkspur, California. It's one of the most beautiful herbal apothecaries in Marin County, without a doubt, in a beautiful magical space. I remember that I was working with a client who's trying to get back out on the dating market, who had so much. Like when I tell you she was such an interesting, juicy, well-resourced, intelligent person. And I especially liked her because she was a dancer. She was like one of these swing dance people, like that, like they go to like these swing dances where you dressed up in like the costumes of like the 50s, 60s or whatever period of the dance that she did. And I told her, I was like, okay, you need to start thinking of yourself as a luxury item. You're entertaining too much. And she had a very hard time with, this was not a Black woman, but I feel like this is something that we need to think about because I truly believe, I joke sometimes, and I think I told Karrie, I was like, what if Black women are like the vibranium of the dating world? Like, what if we are the most valuable thing and we're only just now coming around to it? So that's the way I would like to take the conversation and, or how I'd like to look at it. I think that each and every one of us needs to think about the kind of currency and the different types of currency that people need to, like, why would we even entertain it? And this is something I'm thinking about a lot because I'm a Leo. I have a lot of Leo stuff, right? Mercury, Mars, fourth house. And I love attracting. It's a part of my personal magic. It's one of the reasons I'm here on earth. And I love attracting, but I also know the same way a candle flame attracts beautiful creatures of the night and these gorgeous moths, like it also attracts some of the scariest, most frightening things ever. And I have to also work on, like, okay, it's also my superpower. I love attracting, but also I have to figure out how to use it too and radiate it out. And if I'm talking about dating, if I'm talking about work, like, what is the company? What is the partner? What does the friend have to bring to the marketplace of exchange with me, myself, and I? And so we'll chit chat about that like a little bit, but that's how I'm looking at it. And I know that sounds cold. It may sound a little cold, a little hard, a little mercenary, but that's how I like to think about it. So I, of course, whenever Karrie has a topic, like, I'm so excited to jump into. So Karrie, I also love this part too, because this is where I get to take a pause, go on mute, and take notes. Please lead us into the stars of this.
What I always do is when something comes up, lean into the shadow. Don't just be like, I can't procrastinate. I can't think about this right now. Or no, don't make a choice at all and just let something happen to you because the deadline ran out, or, now you can't make a choice because, and as I often say, not making a choice is also making a choice. It is self-abandonment. And so the universe says, look, there's no address here. We can't bring you your package, and now you mad because, you didn't get what you wanted. You made a choice. The choice was that I will, whatever shows up is what I will take. Right. And so we must make choices. So doing our shadow work, I believe, is a ongoing, daily, hourly, minute by minute thing. It's a daily gardening of the mind. And this is how you bring your manifestations to you, is being aware of what's present in the garden. Like when you go out in the garden, you say, well, why are my tomatoes not working? And you lift up one of the leaves and you see some nasty little something under there, aphids or whatever. That is you being called to prune your garden so that it can flourish and it can grow into its proper potential. So think of it that way with yourself. I am simply pruning this garden, getting rid of some aphids so I can go to my proper potential, which, by the way, is your birthright. It's the point of you being born into this planet. Everybody has their own particular energy and frequency. And if you are not radiating your frequency, you are not doing your job, period. So this is all about recognizing those moments and going and then looking at your chart or doing your reading and finding out what's present right here, what aphids are present here that I need to be pruning. I was giving an example of struggling to raise my prices and having to lean into the fear and where was that coming from, and coming to the conclusion that the fear was that I wouldn't be chosen as the person's astrologer. The fear wasn't that I wouldn't get paid what I need to get paid. The fear wasn't that I wasn't going to be able to pay my bills. The biggest fear was that I wasn't going to be chosen. That's ridiculous. Okay. And so that's when I started to lean into that. And it's interesting how the universe sets you up too, because as I was kind of working with this and looking at this, I started longtime clients that I've had for a long time, started sending me testimonials, started going, like, send me a video testimony. Oh gosh, I couldn't live without Karrie. This is this amazing woman. She's given me, I've made so much money from taking her advice with her business readings. in my personal life. I had one client say, you saved my marriage. You were I was wanting to leave and you told me, this transit's coming up right now. I think you should just chill and wait for a minute. She ended up writing a book about relationships and how to navigate them. So I'm sitting here going I work with companies and they're talking about you helped with our workplace and workplace harmony, which is such a big deal right now in terms of toxic workplaces. So over and over again, I started getting testimonials of people just mentioning to me, I still listen to your readings. Years later, I still go back. It's like another coaching session. I hear new things, new different things. So I'm going, wait, I'm getting information from spirit and from the universe that my value is higher than what I am charging people currently. And I'm worried about being chosen, I also had a couple people who weren't so happy about it, raise your prices. This is where the aphids be showing up, right? A couple people reach out to you going now I can't afford you. I remember someone reached out to me on Instagram, was I wish you would still do your free readings on Instagram like you did back before. And I'm thank you, but I bet you do wish I could do, I wish I had the time to do that. I don't. All of it's working for you in your favor. So this is why you need to show up and lean into it instead of walk away and hope it works itself out. All right. What I do is if I'm dealing with a self-value issue, I always go to my second house in astrology. The second house is connected to the sign Taurus, which represents tangible material goods, security, comfort, stability, resources, and what the money we make with our hands, right? The second house represents our wealth and finances and also our self-value. As I often say in my readings, if you don't value yourself, why would anybody else, right? So here we can see if we have any natal planets in that particular house that is giving us this energy of not valuing yourself, and therefore other people are picking up on that, right? And then you want to look at Venus, okay? Venus is the planet that's connected to Taurus. It rules Taurus, and it's also the ruler of the second house. And Venus represents attracting in the feminine. Mars is when you go out and get stuff. Pluto's when you go out and get stuff. Venus is attracting, and Venus means currency. Currency is meant to flow in and flow out. So as I often say to people, just because you said I wanted a bunch of money, where's that money going to go after it goes through you? Because that's the proper way of manifesting. Otherwise, you're just hoarding. And why would anything come to you if it was going to stop with you? That's not the way our universe works. Not one thing on this planet works that way. It's just everything's a cycle. So we start to look at our second house. Now, first thing you do is you look and you see, what do I have natally in the second house? In a Western astrology chart, default Placidus, not whole signs for the astrologers who are listening. My Neptune is in my second house. Neptune is that very foggy, Pisces, nebulous energy. It's unconditional love. It is unconditional empathy, right? So this means, and it also, remember, that applies to your wealth and finances. So this usually means that I'm somebody who's a giver, who's just that'll work itself out when it comes to wealth and finances and things like that. It also is a house of self-esteem, meaning for a large portion of my life, I had a hard time receiving things because I didn't value myself, and therefore I didn't value what someone wanted to give me, right? Now, when you have that natally, you have to be aware of it. When you have Neptune in your second house, you have to make sure that you have a bookkeeper or you have other people, not other people handling your money, but other people advising you about your money. You're not going to be able to advise yourself. You're going to second guess yourself. You're not going to value it, right? Now, say you have, the sun in the second house. This is your ego. You're a little bit, little more of a go-getter when it comes to money and your self-esteem. It's your freaking egos in the second house. Say you have your moon there. I love this placement because the moon in the second house people, they are emotional about their money, okay? And they just you know what? Say you got Venus there. This usually means a good money maker. Say you got Mars there. This means somebody who usually uses their sexuality or their physicality for money. Lots of athletes have Mars in the second house, okay? Let's say you got Jupiter there, like Halicue right now in transit. Okay, this is an abundance when it comes to wealth and finances and to your self-esteem, because you'll notice when your self-esteem is higher, so do your wealth and finances. Now, this is why I want us to take a look at Black women right now. Okay, how many times you seen Black women? We started going to the gym. We started being like, you know what? I'm gonna do me, right? Boom, here comes the wealth. Boom, here comes all the finances. Boom, here comes, right? And all the level up that people talk about. It didn't just show up. It wasn't because they got a great marketing scheme. It's because they decided that they were valuable. And so the universe responded in kind. That's how that works, right? So look at the shape of your second house. What's in there?
I just want to say, and when you start protecting that investment of leveling up, like when you start thinking about yourself that way, you do that leveling up, protecting your investment becomes this thing that you just naturally do. Like, I just wanted to say that and put that in there. So I love the way you talked about it that way, because anyway, I just felt like that was, I wanted to put that in there. I was like, and also, so I thought to myself as I'm taking notes, like, protecting my investment, because I put a lot of time and energy into this. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. This is something that when we undervalue ourselves and undervalue our product, my coach says this all the time, because she's always like, because sometimes, we're brought to her like, oh, I want to raise my prices and I feel bad about that. And she's like, did these people go through the years of study that you went through with astrology? Did they invest the time, money, energy to learn this stuff, to cultivate a business? She's like, she's like, they'll be taken care of, Karrie. You don't have to do it. And it was really helpful for me to understand that, like, because with my Neptune in second house, I'm like empathizing with people's situations that I don't even know their situation. I have heard this many times from older relatives: stay out of other people's wallets. They will decide what they can afford, not you. And also something my coach says, which is really helpful, is she says, the money is not coming from them, it's coming from source to you. So it doesn't matter what they think about it. The money will come to you some other way. And that is something I really want Black women, of course, to, like, especially to understand. We are magnets, I love how Halicue talks about us being vibranium, because I do feel a little bit of that. I do feel I'm some vibranium, okay? And we must understand that vibranium is a magnet, right? It can be used in multiple ways and multiple shapes and forms, right? But it's a magnet. It's drawing things to it, and that's what makes it valuable, okay? So look at your second house. Take a look at what planets are in there, okay? And when we do a YouTube tutorial, we can go through what all the different planets mean and all that and help you understand and look at your own chart. And you also want to take a look at which planet is transiting that second house, okay? Because that gives you the time period that we're talking about here. If Saturn's transiting that second house, that's usually about 2.5 years, right? Jupiter's there, that's about a year. Go to some of those outer planets, man. Pluto, 10, 20 years sometimes, depending on how large your house is, right? But you have an understanding of how long you're going to be in this particular space and feeling this particular energy and the work that you have to do, what you can kind of expect to go along with it. But always when we're dealing with the second house, and honestly, I feel like this is the lesson of having Neptune in the second house, is that my self-esteem is tied to my money. So I build one, the other one grows. So if any of my energy is or attention is being focused on anything else, it's not where it's supposed to be. My self-esteem, my self-worth is my growth, period. And it's the first order of the day. And so something I also wanted to say is that I put this into the universe. Here I am struggling to raise my, should I raise my prices? Maybe I was just talking to Halicue about this, maybe a month ago, I don't know when it was, a while ago. I said, you know what? I'm feeling this just a desire to serve a larger way. And I'm feeling like doing one-on-one readings, so many of them, takes away from me being able to provide. There's only one of me, and I have this particular way that I do astrology, and it's very beneficial to people because that's been proven to me. And I want to help more people. I can't do that if I'm doing one-on-one readings all the time, right? And I said, I want to move into serving in a larger way. And here comes this opportunity to move in a larger way. Yes, there won't be as many people getting readings, but now my energy can go in other directions. And the people that will and can afford those readings and knows the value of those readings will sign up and get their medicine. Okay. So that's why it's so important to take a look at what's going on in your astrology chart, to recognize the energy when it's there and to move on it, take an aligned action and see how it shows up for you. You know, that whole see how God shows up for you. This is how this shows up. Now, it also can show up, and this is me going back to the being right instead of receiving. When that first happened, that feeling of, I raised my prices and I had some people reaching out to me saying, I can't afford this anymore. And I used to be this and I wanted to give this as a gift, but now I can't, like basically, coming to me with the issue. There's this fear of like, oh, I should go back to the way I was. And that's me blocking my receiving. The universe is working things out for you. As soon as you decide that you want something, the universe takes away the thing that was getting in the way of you getting what you wanted, right? So you have to be able to look at it that way instead of, oh God, this means I should need to go backwards. It's like, oh no, I'm getting what I want. And I'm also going to have to deal with whatever feelings come up around that. Why are those feelings there? This constant gardening of the mind that has to happen. But I just want people to also look at, sometimes the need to be right will mess you up and block your receiving. So that's where we start looking.
Very keen to get into that. Karrie and I were sharing some personal experience with that previously. These are, as in those Clubhouse days, we used to talk about dropping gems. Like Karrie gives us so much. Like I'm actually excited about the drive. Y'all know, Mom. Like y'all know that I'm a soccer mom, so I have to spend a lot of time in the car. And I totally have my assignment for where I'm going to be spending the 4 hours in the car, like working on all of this. Again, and it's juicy because it's about me. Oh my gosh! That's what I hope we communicate to y'all. This is fun getting to know yourself. Like what? And even if you don't believe, quote unquote, although I think it's stupid to say that, like, do I believe in tarot astrology? It's like, they're tools. I don't know. Do you believe in a hammer? Do you believe in a screwdriver? Like these are tools to help you, so I don't know if you have to believe in them, like whatever. But even if you don't, you are the most interesting person in your life, I promise you. You are the most interesting character in your story. So just as I get ready to transition, talk about the cards, like please give yourself the gift of using your cards and exploring, the way Karrie describes it is what the night looked like, what the sky looked like when you were born. There's nothing cooler and more fun than that. And as I get into our tarot talk about this, I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to share screen. I want y'all to see some of the cards that I pulled, or some of the things that I see, or that if I want to focus my own intentions, or the cards that I would use in what I like to call an intentioned pull. Like if I wanted to choose some archetypes to get me inspired, or if spirit comes to you and talks to you through your cards the way it does with me. There are literally times I see and feel a conversation, or I see and feel energy between the interaction of the cards. I just wanted to pull a couple, but to preface, as I get ready to get in, for the love of heaven, Elmo, Oprah, sweet baby G, whatever love means to you, like whatever the essence and the spirit of love means to you, please let go of the guilt. I want to go back to that image of thinking of yourself as a luxury item. The Vuitton bag, or the Gucci bag in its shop, where it's been beautifully merchandised the way we do this work. Like Karrie said, we put this time, this energy, this love of labor, investment into ourselves, our minds, our education, our bodies, our wardrobe, whatever it is we're doing to become better people in the workplace, or whatever it is we do. We put all that time and money in. To feel guilt over it, please, I don't even want to intellectualize it too much. Just let it go. And the only example I can give you is, again, the Vuitton bag, the Gucci bag. It's not their fault they're made of all these amazing, hard to find, difficultly sourced materials. It's not their fault they've been handcrafted and sewn, right? Like it's not the couture gown's fault that it is a work of art. So what purpose does it serve for you to have guilt. You are this beautiful creation that was half put here by man, your ancestors, and is half the result of your own hard work. So I just want to say, release the guilt about that. That's one of the reasons I love working with Karrie, because when she brought this conversation to me, we didn't even have to talk about, oh yeah, girl, I'm glad your coach told you how much are your readings now? Excellent. That feels uncomfortable. That price kind of makes me go like, like that's good because I'm worth it. And when I need another reading for Karrie, I know there is a big difference from the time you put your shingle out than when you've been in your career for a while, right? Like when we first start out, we're first putting our shingle out, whether it's tarot, whether you're an attorney, you want to start your own practice, or you're a dentist. Maybe you're kind of putting it out. Maybe you're making a lot of free content because you're trying to attract, you're trying to get people to know, like, trust you. But as you get more clients, as you yourself develop and grow personally, especially if you're a spiritual person, especially one of the things that you're doing and you're trying to help people do, or the service that you're selling is helping them get more spiritually in tune, you're getting better and better. And if your magic is right and you're living right and there's the right relationship, if you have the right clients, the right customers, like the right social media, the price is going up. It's like Jay-Z said in the Carter's album, right? The sound of price going up. And I want to encourage you all to embrace that. Right? I really do. Because there's a big difference in the free content that we see on some random TikTok channel. Like, is a reading there going to be the same as what Karrie gives or what I give? Like, absolutely not. So, and that's okay. So 1, releasing the guilt. And also 2, doing an assessment. One of my favorite cards for that, assessing. If you're thinking like, well, I need to reconfigure, I need to recalibrate, like what it is I charge in the emotional marketplace. Like, what do I charge in the creative marketplace? Like, what do I charge in my business, my work, in my home life, my friendships, like whatever. Like, this is the card of taking an assessment. And this is pentacles. This is practical. This is not like pie in the sky. Like, this is getting out your piece of paper and your pencil. Like, how are the prices when I got started? Where is quote unquote business? How is it going right now? And do I need to up my prices? So an assessment is sometime needed, especially, you may want to do it quarterly, yearly, every 2 or 3 years, however you do it. Always make time to do this. And it doesn't matter what the arena is. It could be your marriage. It may be time, that we say every 7 years, if you're in a committed relationship, needs some reassessment. So for in any way, these are the cards that I like most. And I really did choose the ones that are spiciest and juiciest to me and that I love reading and that I love seeing. And I love looking for messages in what if I do need to reconfigure, who am I in the situation? Here's some of the cards, and you notice they are pentacles heavy, right? Because we're talking about, like Karrie said, the second house, value, wealth, like what that is, what it looks like. So getting started down here with the 6 of Pentacles. This card often shows up for people for whom a windfall is coming. Like there's about to be some kind of scholarship, a donation, inheritance, or something. And when I see it in me and my heritage and my culture, I encourage people to the universe wants to give your ass something. See the scales there? That means the universe, when justice shows up, that tarot card, and whenever you see scales show up, a lot of times it means stop fighting it. The universe loves balance and is trying to, get us back to some equilibrium. And in this card, we see somebody wealthy with a scale, and they're handing out, alms or money or gifts. And one of the reasons I love this, and especially for us as Black women, when you look at this card, this is pretty straightforward. But as Black women, I want first to look at this card and ask, who are we in this card? Because quite often we're the ones with the gifts. We're the ones with the magic. We're the ones giving it, bestowing it. We are the wealthy merchant. We are the one that holds the inherent value, whether that's our emotional wealth, our actual money, our resources. But we act like the people with our cup out. You know what I mean? Like we act please, can I have samosa? It's like we're fighting ourselves. So if that sounds familiar to you, use this to help you be inspired to am I acting like I'm the quote unquote charity case when in this relationship, in this work relationship, in my office, in my relationship, in my Am I in school? Am I the one that could actually teach the class, like acting like the student? Why don't I bring the bravado of the professor to the class when, I'm the one bringing or carrying the fire? Or if you're in some kind of production, I'm bringing star power and energy and I'm in some supporting freaking role. Like I might need to shout out to Thomas. Shout out to our actor friend, Thomas, who's out there in these theatrical streets. So I like for us to think about that because it's something that when I think about us as Black and brown women and how like we're the gift, but we're acting like the charity case, like, please, please, please love me, choose me, pick me. Like, we've spoken about in previous episodes, like that's a card I like to look at. And I also like to encourage people too, if you're doing your own practice, this card comes up, make some gift of service. I don't care what it is. Give something. I don't care if it's like telling someone you love their smile. Black women, we're good at this. Like, y'all know we see somebody like, girl, them polka dots are poking. Like, or yes, love the hat, love the shoes, love the outfit. Even if it's the gift of a compliment, because we all know what a compliment does to us. You know what it's like when another Black woman tells you like, girl, that orange is working. You're just like, my whole day is made. Somebody noticed. Like somebody noticed. And then your wattage shines brighter. So when this card comes up for you to not only get excited about, something might be coming, make like a small gift of service. I don't care what it is, like forwarding somebody, like, I don't know, if there's a nonprofit or something you like.
Tipping. Yeah.
Yes, tipping, exactly. Like, or pay for somebody's load of laundry at the laundromat. Give something. Another energy that I love is the Duchess. This is the 9 of Pentacles. I love this so much. Here is this beautiful, am I counting right? Yes. No, is that the 8 or the 9? That's the 9. A beautiful woman of mature age. She's wearing these gorgeous robes. This is the TikTok where the woman was like, I want for Black women to all wear velvety robes and soft slippers. I want for us to say, I don't know if I'm doing I don't know if I'm doing it today. This is a woman who has worked hard, who has acquired assets, who has resources. She is protected. We see vineyards, which in the Bible and lots of old, old scriptures or whatever, like vineyards meant you were wealthy. If you owned vineyards, if you had grapes, it was a show and a sign of wealth. So we see the grapes like the way we see with the King of Pentacles. And she has choices. She's looking lovingly at that. And I also look at this as a card of like relationships, even though it's like pentacles. Because she's a bitch with choices. She's the rich auntie. She's there by herself and she's entertaining a flashy, exciting lover, the falcon. And on the ground down there, we see the snail. And then there's the lover that's slow and steady, but because we know the snail leaves like a slick trail behind it. Like the snail might look very humble, but the snail knows how to get things lubricated. And like the snails knows how to give pleasure in his own very humble, not outwardly sexy way. And I think there's nothing sexier, more magnetic or abundant than a woman that makes no apologies for what it is she has acquired, like the way over years Karrie acquires more knowledge. She has to study astrology. She has to talk about it all the time. She has to write about it all the time. She does create free content for us. Like this is a podcast. And actually it's unbelievably high quality, like free content that you can just plug into your ear holes. And so as such, as Karrie sits in that energy, like some people would say that's truly sitting in your feminine energy and just being open to being receptive. Yeah. The prices get to go up because I'm bringing more and more value every day with what I do. So that's when that card comes up too. That means to me, take comfort in what it is you have and what you give, and whether you're giving in the emotional marketplace, or whether you're giving in the marketplace of ideas or in the marketplace of your workforce. Yeah, like it's okay. You bring a lot, so it's okay for you to charge a lot for your time, your energy, and your resources. And in these last 2 cards, when I teach tarot, and especially when I'm teaching the face cards, right, like the royalty of the tarot, because the deck of tarot cards, 78 cards, 56 of those cards basically were the precursors to a regular deck of playing cards. And like a regular deck, there's a king, queen. Instead of a jack, we have the knight, and we also add the pages. And these are exciting to teach, right? Because they're people-shaped energies. And I personally love myself going through life looking for different archetypes that we see. And of course, I love the queens. Because the queens, the way Karrie teaches us, the way Karrie just taught us about how, perhaps Mars and Pluto represent masculine, how we go out and get it. And Venus represents how we receive. That's why I love the queens, because instead of, the ruling with like actions, decrees, like sending out an army, queens like exhibit their power through how they radiate. Like who they standing next to. Like you want to stand next to the queen because the queen, like the way Cardi says, if y'all weren't so busy hating, y'all could be standing next to me. Like you could be standing next to me, getting some of this with me instead of spending your time. That's queen energy. Cardi is one of my favorite Queen of Wands. Like her magic and fire, and she is amazing when her Queen of Wands is reversed. Like when she's decided she is pissed and she is angry and she's going to radiate through her anger, it is brutal. It is like it is brutal. I'm like, oh Lord, when Cardi starts talking about let the dead lie, like, or, let that bitch rest. Like, I'm like, who did what to Cardi today? What y'all do to her that she's got to come for y'all like this? And I like to think sometimes when I'm thinking about the queens and the kings and the queens in relationships, what if the King of Wands was married to the Queen of Cups? Like, what would that look like? What would that marriage look like? How would they rule? What would their kingdom look like? And what I want to encourage, what I want to encourage you to use and perhaps use when you're trying to rev yourself up, get yourself ready to raise your prices, whatever they are in whatever marketplace. Think about a co-regency between the Queen of Pentacles, who is abundant, fruitful. She's like the Martha Stewart of the tarot deck. Like Martha literally took making freaking apple pies and turned it into this, like now she's an arbiter of taste. She grew up a relatively lower middle class, like Polish girl, like who through her looks and her ability to make knishes or whatever, like ended up turning into this. Martha didn't know how to paint murals. She did paint by numbers herself on her home that her husband could barely afford to make this mural and invite people over to generate money for her catering business. She's surrounded by these images of fecundity, right? Like she's pregnant. We see rabbits, goats, flowers. Like she's a maker. Anything she touches turns to gold. And she wants to see like, well, does it make money? And how is that going to, she's the woman that wants to help you charge, like in the olden days, like, what dowry are we charging? You're a hot ticket. You're a hot item. We need to make sure. Yeah, your dowry needs to be this. They need to bring this to the table. And I want you to think about what the play or the energy would be like between her and my favorite, my girl, that's my bitch, like Queen of Wands. Like whenever the Queen of Wands shows up, I'm like, oh, just be me. Okay. All right. Like, what do I need to bring to the situations? Oh, just be me. The Queen of Wands is kind of the witch of the deck. Like she's covered in gold, orange. She radiates optimism. We see that through, she's kind of handling the sunflower, which is in its essence, right? Like the sunflower turns its face towards the sunlight. It has this big, so it spends time in source energy, the sun, like what makes it feel good, what makes it, what helps its big face grow even bigger. Draped in red, we see the lions, like behind her. So we see that fire energy. She's holding a wand, of course, which is a magical wand. It's also very large and phallic shaped. She enjoys a sexual relationship. She's very confident about it. She's the only queen that we see with legs astride. And of course, we see her familiar, the black cat down there. So that's why maybe we call her the witch. And how does she rule? She radiates through her energy. She's the one. When she comes in, the party starts. She can turn the party up. And when she's pissed, when she's angry, party's over. She doesn't have to say a word. And everyone's like, oh, I guess I better go. Like, like the tide has turned. And so I think truly sitting in and seeing and feeling your own value, practically what you bring to the table, and that intangible, like the way Karrie just spoke about how vibranium is it's magnetic. You can't see it, but it's there. It's like that. It's like when like the people were being extractive and raping Mother Earth of gold. But like during the gold rush, people are like, I can smell the gold. I can smell the oil. Or what do they call people that carry the little fork thing, like looking for water? They can smell that. Like they can smell the water. They know a dowser. Like they're like, the water's here. The well is here. It's that magical play. Look for yourself in those two things and and even if you're wanting to do an exercise or journal or work your way through it, there's ways we can use the Queens of Wands and the Queen of Pentacles too. And we'll get into that when it's time for heart work. But Karrie, this was supposed to be a shorter one. I hope I talked a little bit less. I don't think I did. I like not quite as long, but these are some of the archetypes that I like to use whether you're making a photocopy, doing a vision board, whether you're writing a petition on the back of them, making a photocopy, writing your intentions, like how do I plan to be the Queen of Pentacles? What would the Queen of Pentacles draw in? And using that. Or sometimes even making a storyboard, like how do I transition from, I don't know, the being down here, feeling like the beggar to becoming eventually the Duchess, and then sitting on my throne as queen, and which queen am I? Or, and what do I need to radiate and attract? Or who do I want to exert my influence on to get what I want? These are some of my favorite archetypes to use. So that you're coming from a tarot perspective, and also be looking for these when they come up when you're doing readings for yourself. Like these can be super helpful in that way. And that's my tarot take on our topic of recognizing our inherent value. How it all begins with us, and how we want you to use these tools for your own advancement, improvement, and increasing that value so that you can feel it, taste it, hold it, touch it.
Thank you, Halicue, because I feel like you have really walked us through the magic of Black women, meaning that Black women are what we desire if we allow ourselves to desire. Starts in our energy and then shows up tangibly. And it is about that constant gardening. And what I love about what Halicue does is she goes into the card and she draws it out. This is an attraction that's going on. Halicue's a master at what she does because it's what she sees. We've even talked about, what's the value of an astrologer? What's the value of a tarot person? What's the value of these healers? It's what that particular person sees. That's what you're paying for, right? So it's like, and it costs money, and it costs time and energy to hone that particular gift, And so the reason why, Halicue is such a master at what she does is because she has this worldly experience to look for certain things and to intuit and bring a little bit more than you would with your average, TikTok tarot kind of thing. So thank you, Halicue, for really being so rich, God, it's so rich. Again, like I always say this, but I feel like I just ate, I ate a good meal because it was rich. And also, so a couple of things that came up, because I always try to like monitor my own feelings as we go through this, because we are the test subjects also, I'm like, ooh, where do I feel uncomfortable with what she just said? Like you were talking about raising prices. That makes me uncomfortable. It makes me, that's an uncomfortable number, right? Why is that uncomfortable? Lean into it. Okay. So something that came up for me as you were describing this, all of this opulence and all of this amazing is that, and for Black women, these are very uncomfortable subjects. And why? One, it's because I believe that Black women are expected to lower ourselves. In fact, we will be the ones that will be gone to lower ourselves. Because you think about it, you mentioned Martha Stewart. I don't believe there are people who would, Martha Stewart says her product is this much money. And then there are not many people who are going to be like, Martha, I can't afford that. I got this, and this going on. But they will very easily go to someone of color, a woman of color, to do that. And I know when I've talked to other astrologers of color about this, that they will often have people lamenting in their DMs or emailing them to specifically say to them, like, why are you doing this to me? Like, I want your services. Would they go to someone who was white and say that? Would they even let them know? Or, so when we see Black women healers asked to lower their prices, or even like say people haggling with their house cleaners over a rate, I remember when I lived in New York and I got a house cleaner for the first time, and she was Russian, I believe. And I remember just being so like, tell me what you like. I'm asking you for something. You know what I'm saying? Tell me what your rate is. And she was so hard. She was having such a hard time letting me know, because again, she didn't want to be chosen. She didn't want to be not chosen. There was this fear of like, you're just going to go to someone else. And I'm like, I want your expertise. I want you to clean this house, So, people who haggle with people because they can, haggling with your Mexican house cleaner. Are you serious?
Do y'all know how important cleanliness is to spiritual work? Like, for those of us that get a little bit deeper into it, I'm a bougie hoodoo, and cleaning is very important to our work. Before we do anything, you got to clean candles, you got to clean space. And because I'm a bougie hoodoo, yes, my lovely ladies that come help me with this house, keep this house clean, are a part of my spiritual work. I love giving gifts to them. Thank you. This is for luck. This is for lunch. Good. This is for you. Thank you. The care which was they clean around my altar, or please let me pull a card for you. My husband's like, well, why is the check this much? I was like, because that's a tip. I was like, because if you tip a black or brown woman, you have no idea what a black or brown woman could do with an extra $50. We could literally start a business and help lift other people. We could put an ad in a newspaper to hire some more people to help us, like with my little business. I'll never forget seeing a woman in Vietnam with a whole restaurant on the sidewalk. When I tell you she had a restaurant on the sidewalk, she had 8 plastic stools, some kind of flame, and a pot. And all the business people were like at her restaurant, that if she needed to buy the equipment for that restaurant, cost maybe $30 at like a Dollar Tree. Like, so I just want to say that about our lovely people that, don't be haggling over people that actually are playing. And in your house, I guess because I have so much in the fourth house, like.
I didn't mean to trigger you, Halicue.
Y'all could be fucking up your blessings. Okay.
Thank you. You said it. In your blessings. In your
being cheap with yourself and like other people that are rendering you this invaluable.
Haggling people. Do you know? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, again, like this is about like Black women, really, this happens all the time. This happens all the time to Black women healers, Black women, just their services, whatever. There's always people who will approach them to see how they can go lower. And they would not do that. They would not do that if they didn't feel entitled to that person's time, space, gifts, talents, right? So we have to recognize this. And I just wanted to, just thank you, Halicue, for elaborating how we can see this in our tarot readings. Also, one last thing I want to say before we get into our heart work and head on out is that all of this energy, because also something that came up for me as you were talking, Halicue, was like, I don't want to look like I'm too much, or I'm asking too much, or it's taking something. And this is often what's the complaint about Black women in the luxury areas, that's just like, oh, she's too good now, or this is not good enough for her, or, this, why you think you're a queen? What did you do? Kind of thing. This will lead back into that building 50-50 or building and being asked to go 50-50 on relationships and things like that, which some people are happy to do and some people aren't, But I want us to be aware that like building yourself up is not trying to take power over someone. There is enough for everybody. You are simply taking your share. So this is like if you have a gift, it's because there is somebody who's aligned with that gift who's supposed to pay you for it. There you go. Okay. So this is not about, having something over someone else. Again, money is currency. It's meant to flow in and flow out. And as you were saying, Halicue, if you're giving your money to a Black woman, it is building a whole community. That's just her nature. Okay. So know that it is going through her and going through something bigger and greater. So I would love to talk about the difference between building 50-50 in a relationship and building energetically. And this can go even business as well. But like, there's often the debate within the Black community about like, well, what are you bringing to the table? And I want to be 50-50, everything 50-50, which is fine. Like like I said, there are people who want to do that with you. They really see that, and that's fine. And different relationships too, by the way. You could be 50-50 with one relationship and the next one you're not. Like, you're allowed to change. Do you know what I'm saying? You're allowed to be like, this is the energy I'm getting from this person. I really want to build with that person. Or this is the energy I'm getting from this person. I really want to energetically give to this person, right? And so for Black women to understand that your resources are also energetic. It's also your presence. It's not just your work ethic. It's not just your ability to make a paycheck. It's not just your ability to be a therapist. It is absolutely just your presence, just your beauty, just your voice. It's not just your body, right? So just understanding that, like, when people start talking 50-50, we have to understand that there is a difference, and building can show up as multiple things, is what I'm trying to say.
The goal here is to be the opposite of the giving tree. Like, do you remember that book by Shel Silverstein? It used to be one of my favorite books when I was younger. I should have, and because I was like, what the fuck? Like, at the end of this book, like, I was like, and she's a stump. And I bring it up because I think as Karrie talks about this and about, differences between building, different ways to build with someone, let us be honest with ourselves. And as y'all get to know me and Karrie a little bit more, it's going to be some provocative things being said. We definitely have some opinions. Y'all know good and damn well, and we can figure out pretty early on, is this shit reciprocal? Like, and I'm not talking about the way you feel good when you have really put it down on your man and he's walking around like, I'm walking on sunshine. Like, that's not enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to be the one walking around like singing, I'm walking on sunshine. It shouldn't be the only pleasure you get is through what's reflected back from their happiness. We know what reciprocity is. Lauryn Hill taught us that word, right? In that song, like, who do I have to be to get some reciprocity? We know what reciprocity feels like. And you know what it feels like when perhaps you're young and you can tell, like, should I build with this person? Like, this person is industrious. They have a job. Even though they got a scholarship in college, they still have a job. They don't like taking money from their parents. Like, even though they want to go out, they need to study. They're in their carrel. They're trying to, like, come on now. We know as young women how to look at something like that versus, oh, he's really hot and he doesn't really have money and he's always ask me, like Erykah Badu, always reaching down in my purse to pay your way, my homeboy's way. Like somebody said on TikTok, can I tell you just the way it hurt my spirit that Erykah Badu had to reach down in her purse to pay your way, your homeboy's way, and even your cousin's way. Let's be real with ourselves about what reciprocity is. And if most of the time, especially when you're in the early days of dating or relationships or in a job, you can figure out pretty quickly whether or not this is extractive or whether or not this is regenerative. Like, please don't throw away 5-10 years talking about we're building together. Come on. And you're the only one getting the degrees. You're the only one like putting down a down payment of the house. You're the only one that can afford, that has good credit. Everything you got to get's got to get done through your name because y'all know, and you know whether or not you're happy.
Right.
Or this feels like equally yoked. So one of the things my grandmother always said, my grandmother's a very cold, mean, harsh woman, but she was like, never yoke yourself unevenly. To which I was like, what? But she was a Taurus. I should have known this, like, about oxen and being evenly yoked. Like, they may bring the Harvard Business School degree and you may bring the chart. You know what I mean? Like, Jay-Z may have brought the $1 billion to a relationship and Beyonce is the magic and the hot sauce and somehow it doesn't have to be the same for it to be, it have to be same for it to work, for you all to work together towards a common goal. And I would like for us to exercise some common sense in that and acknowledge when we're so numb, we're so frozen that we're like, oh, but I have a man, or I have this, like, it's tired, it's late, it's old. We ain't doing that no more. Like Karrie said earlier, we're going to get somebody else to do that. It's time for somebody else to do that. And we would like for this podcast and this message, we hope this is the wind in your wings and gives you a little bit of courage to do that assessment that I talked about earlier and think about, is it time, like Karrie decided, it's time for the price to go up.
Yes. And anyone at any point can decide that, right? You don't miss your window of opportunity and say, oh no, I can't do that now. Those are other people's rules. Like, that's not yours. And I want to fit Michelle Obama in here because I always want to fit Michelle Obama in any conversation. But this is what building looks like. And I especially, Michelle Obama is extremely accomplished, right? But when she was occupying the White House, okay, her energy is what built that man up, and this nation, by the way. Okay, because it wasn't her degrees. It wasn't any of that. It was her point of view. It was her willingness to take care of her girls, to be able to raise her family in the public eye and to show up every day with a certain type of archetype, okay, that we could all aspire to. That is also building, and you will do it sometimes throughout your life. Like you may build with have a relationship and you're young and you're building together and it's monetary. And then you may have some kids and you're building and it's energetic now. Or your partner may start building energetically and you start building monetarily. This again, money is called currency for a reason. It's meant to ebb and flow. So if you're just one of you doing this over here and one of you doing this over here the whole time, that's also not the point, okay? So what I think we're trying to say here is that be very flexible and open and expand beyond what you've been told is your place and your value. Start to think about building differently. Start to think about that second house, because this isn't just finances and money. Second house is also self-esteem, self-value. And when you build your self-esteem and your self-value and you're on the arm of your partner, they absolutely feel that and they build their self-esteem and self-value. That's where their promotions come from. That's where their opportunities come from. They came through you. So, next time, take a little extra time to pamper yourself a little bit and consider that money in the bank.
Karrie, you're speaking my language right now. Like, shit works. I'm telling y'all. She's telling you the truth. I'm telling you, I have lived it. I am living it. I'm telling you. Oh my goodness. Oh, this has been a conversation. This was supposed to be a 30-minute episode. Look at it. It was supposed to be a 30-minute episode. Oh my goodness. This has been such a, like you said, a rich conversation. That's why we feel.
We were doing like the Lil' Kim. In the beginning, I was just like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, Karrie, can I say as one final word? Beware the person, the friend, the colleague that when you tell them your price is going up in whatever the marketplace is, girl, I don't know about that. What? Like, beware the friend. I don't mean a random or like some disgruntled former client or some cousin that has had a problem with you since y'all was 12. I mean your friends. Like, because your friends are valued too. Like your friends are, it's like in the tarot, the 9 of Cups, like your relationships are part of your wealth and your currency too. When you've decided that you are leveling up, that you are changing up, switching the game up, or you're elevating, you're charging more, beware the person that's like, I don't know, girl, you should, I don't, like, girl, aren't you gonna blah, 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 blah.
Or you have the partner.
Because sometimes, Andy and I talk about this all the time, sometimes your biggest hater lives in the house with you. Sometimes you sleeping next to your biggest hater. And as Black women, I think we know what the fuck, I hope y'all get what I'm saying. Sometimes.
Yes, because we do have a problem, right? We have an epidemic in our community with, femicide. And so, yeah, we do have to pay attention to our partners as well. Yeah.
And I have to shut up, and I'm going to truly this time shut up and give it to, and not because what I have to say isn't valuable, because I know it is, because we have to save it for episodes, because we could literally right now go off into another episode, but we got to get out there. So Karrie, give us, please, wrap us up and put a bow on it.
I'll put a really expensive bow on it. This is, so the whole thing is about value. And as Halicue said earlier, it's an inside job. It always starts with you. And it's so important for people to understand, because we always go these outside resources. Did they give me the validation? Was I chosen by something else or someone else? No, it starts with you. Once you do it for yourself, and it will be tight in the beginning. I'm going to tell you right now, I raised my prices maybe 4 months ago. And I had the same thing happen where I was like, and for a couple of times I was like, oh my God, girl, nobody's gonna, and eventually somebody paid it. So the point is that as you believe it, so it comes to you. That's it. Period, point blank. And get rid of people who don't believe in what you believe. It's just that way. Be a constant gardener of your own product, of your own property. All right. So the heart work is, checking out that second house and looking at some of these cards that Halicue has so wonderfully pulled for us and given us some new archetypes. And as you were talking about friends, Halicue, I was thinking about Taraji P. Henson's friends, and she was talking about her friends will literally like just show up one day and just be like, hey, you didn't sound right on the phone, and then fly across the country, and I was like, I want a friend like that. I want to be her friend. Also, I want her on this podcast because I cannot wait to look at her chart. So you guys be friends to us and tell us who you would like to see on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Ash. And everybody, check the show notes. We have a great mailbag. We love your questions. We'd love to hear who you'd love to see on the show. If you have specific questions, because Karrie and I are going to be teaching each other tarot and astrology. So I can't wait too. I'm just like, oh, right. We could totally. And the thing is, especially for me, honestly, I think I'm the one getting more benefit out of this because in order to be a great tarot reader, I have to understand
astrology. Yeah.
Astrology. But also, guys, Karrie has to understand archetype because that's so much of what we're studying too.
Yeah. And also understand that as we learn and we teach each other, we're going to be teaching you. So we're giving value back to you. We love all of you. Thank you for giving your time and your energy. That is currency to us.
Melanated Mystics, we out. Bye, y'all.